Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit True Off My Chest and it's by user kinda sorta losing it. In 5 days I'm coming clean and it will probably end my marriage. I've been married to my husband for nearly 17 years, together for 20. I knew that prior to our relationship he struggled with money issues and it is a huge trigger for him. So what did I manage to do? Take over the bills a couple years ago and completely effed it up. Credit card debt, juggling zero interest cards, all that jazz. My credit has been on a slow and steady decline. I've been trying to keep things out of his name so his credit is okay. I have so much guilt and shame. I was so stupid to let it happen. I used shopping, expensive hobbies, and poor financial habits as a way to cover up my anxiety and depression. I lost my mom, we've had a lot of medical debt, travel for my mom and medical reasons, etc. None of those things are excuses for lying to him though. I am so overwhelmed and guilty. He has no idea. On Friday, we are going to sit down to review finances while our kids are at school and I am going to come clean. I have no idea how he is going to react. It might be bad. I divorce. But even the best case scenario, he is never going to trust me again and I don't deserve his trust. He didn't deserve any of this. I have totally betrayed his trust and it keeps me up at night. Part of me is ready to come clean and be honest. The other, cowardly part of me wants to keep the charade. I'm finally going to be brave and be honest. I feel sick. Willoughby, you're absolutely right. You did break his trust, but at least now you're willing to face the music. This courage doesn't mean, of course, that all is forgiven and the slate is clean, I would think. And even though it is a step in the right direction, it could mean that your marriage is over. That is a real possibility. But again, owning it and coming clean is the right thing to do. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's check out the community comments. Marlik Zenden says, the slow crawl into crippling debt is easier to do than some people realize. Corporations restructure and file bankruptcy all the time. There's no shame in it, just learn from it. You can file bankruptcy just for yourself, and if the majority, if not all of the debt is in your name, it won't affect your spouse. I'd suggest coming clean after speaking with a bankruptcy attorney. There's a way out of this, and only you have to pay the price, not your spouse. I did this a couple of years ago. My wife's credit was untouched and mine is already back up to just under 700. Be honest, be strong, do what the attorney says to protect any assets you do not wish to liquidate, and the next thing you know, it'll be a bad memory. Most importantly, do not do it again. Cheddar from the Block 2 says, I've been on the other side of this situation. My husband, we aren't married but been together for damn near 16 years. Wanted to take over bills even though I am great with budgeting and money. Everything was in my name. Every so often I'd ask about our finances cause things started not making sense, or I'd see a bill, he'd hide them, that was past due. I would immediately turn into 0 to 100 tantrum with him. It was a tactic he'd used to shut me down as soon as I asked. I would ask nicely to sit down and come up with a plan if I could just see the bills and what is going on. We never had one and he tanked us, including my own credit, because we had each other on both our cards. I still haven't really forgiven him. We lost the ability to buy the house we rented for 15 years that our special needs children grew up in, which was set up for them and their future as adults, having a small apartment upstairs. And had to buy a tiny house with neighbors smashed against us, hardly a yard, and I'm miserable as F. I feel like I lost the person I loved deeply losing that home. We're still together and I handle all the bills now. House is in my name. I'm waiting to win the lottery now to escape what he's done to us. I resent him, lost any attraction or respect for him. I'd walk away if I could. Reddit Addict 123456 says, coming clean will be a huge weight lifted, and maybe now the two of you can communicate better and work through this together. Or he may never trust you again, but you owe him the truth. And this name took too long says, in a man's mind, it's not the worst thing you could have done. Just come clean and tell him you have a problem. It's doubtful he will want a divorce over this. My wife has been effing up my finances for years. Isn't this set of ceramic penguins cute? Yeah. The community shared their views, and of course it is to just come clean. So let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. First, thank you to everyone that replied and messaged. I read every single one. I appreciated the hopeful comments and identified with the harsh ones. I'm no angel in this story, so some extra information. My husband has a very high-intensity job and travels frequently. I took over the bills so nothing would get lost in the shuffle when he was away from home and he could focus on what he needs to focus on. Insert joke here, right? I was a complete wreck last week. I barely slept, was physically anxious, and was both absolutely dreading Friday, but also couldn't wait for it to just get here already. Fortunately, my husband was on a work trip and my kids were busy with basketball friends, theater, etc. and were barely home. I barely ate and lost like 3 pounds that I've been stuck on. Not recommended for a diet plan. Friday we planned to each work a half day, then have some lunch and look at our budget for the year. Tax returns were pretty decent and my husband got a good annual bonus, so it made sense to see what was what. He was already talking about throwing some in a certificate of deposit or investment and I just felt ill. Friday comes and he comes home with the In-N-Out and a chocolate shake for me and I just lost it. Full on sobbing. I freaked the hell out of him and it took me like 10 minutes to get myself under control. Then I spilled it all. I started with, I love you and I'm sorry, and just let it fly. That wasn't my plan. I had a whole thing written down to make sure I didn't miss anything, and it didn't matter at all. To his incredible credit, he just sat there in shock and listened. Then he definitely underreacted and went directly to, we'll fix it together mode. He wanted some time to absorb what I'd said and then wanted to work through our accounts one by one to see what was actually up, and he wanted to do this alone. Then we'd come up with a plan. I let him be and just did some cleaning and laundry. After maybe 45 minutes, I heard him leave the house with the door slam. I wasn't about to chase him down after he asked for space to process. I did look at the computer and it was a list of all our outstanding balances. To everyone guessing figures, here you go. I assumed it would be 60,000 based on my rough math, but I had forgotten a couple I had on autopay. $96,000 in debt that he had no idea about. He messaged me a while later that he was going to stay at his mom's for the night and would be back to pack a bag and that he would rather not talk yet. I respected that and made myself scarce. He came home the next day and we manufactured some time alone to talk by sending the kids out to run errands. The oldest can drive and loves any excuse. The heart-to-heart was basically this. I effed up royally here, but he shouldn't have checked out completely and let it get to this point. He is going to take over our finances. We're going to do a home equity line of credit or second mortgage for all the recurring stuff and buckle down hard. We will review everything together at least twice a month. We will do marriage counseling together. I agreed to absolutely every term and condition. I honestly thought he wasn't going to come back. Things are chilly at best right now, and I'm so desperately sorry and sick over the hurt I caused. At the same time, there is a deep sense of relief that, whatever happens, I'm no longer lying about it and everything is out in the open. Maybe he'll still decide that we can't move on, but I'm going to own whatever happens. Well, OP, there you go. Your husband is absolutely rightfully pissed, but he wants to work through it with you. I think that says a lot about him. So here's wishing you both the best in the future, OP. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user Somber Lizard. Am I the a-hole for towing my neighbor's car for blocking my driveway, even though the cop said I should have just driven over my grass? So here's the tea. I live in a neighborhood where parking is mostly in front of your own home, but there is a copious amount of space around the block. It's not impossible or a super far walk. I pay more rent than most around my home, somewhere around $100 to $250 extra, specifically because I have a driveway and a garage. It's very visible and my driveway has grass along it, but it's still noticeable as a driveway as I've lived here for 2 years and use it semi-regularly. The other day I left my house late, around 10:30 p.m. or so, to grab something from the store and visit a friend. I came back around 12 a.m. and boom, my driveway is blocked. Not like they slightly nudged into it. I mean, parked right in front of it, like they own the place. There was street sweeping, so the street parkers moved their cars to our side street. I live on a corner. I checked my security cameras. I have multiple because I'm not new to neighbor nonsense. And saw what happened, but I could barely make out that it was a woman, but not exactly who it was. This woman, who I now know lives on the next corner across the street, used my driveway to turn around, so she knew it is a driveway, and then decided to just park there. Bold. There were multiple spots available on the street at the time as well. Anyway, I waited. I gave her time. I hoped she'd come move it. She parked at 10:30 p.m. I tried to be a good neighbor and parked elsewhere. At 8 a.m., I had someone coming to help me fix my car. You know, in my driveway. And her car was still there. So I called the cops at 8:30, who called a tow company and had it taken. No warning, just poof, consequences. Why would I be neighborly when they weren't even courteous to me? Here's where it gets fun. The cop who came gave me flack for it. He was like, well, you could have driven partially through the yard up on the curb to get in. Sir, no. I'm not damaging my grass or squeezing past someone else's car and damaging both just because you don't want to wait for a tow. Then he said he didn't want to tow it because there was a car seat inside. Cool, should have parked it legally then. The baby can't drive. Then, and this is where I almost popped off, he said, don't be surprised if they retaliate. Oh, retaliate against me for using my own driveway? I told him, that's why y'all are here. And then I found out who the neighbor was. Found out they are from Jamaica and was inclined to give them a pass if the rules were different there. But surprise, it's also illegal to block driveways in Jamaica. So like, you already know better, girl. Oh, and some light backstory. I realized once I found out who it was, our daughters used to be friends, but after a kid drama moment, this woman told her daughter not to play with mine anymore. Okay, fine. My daughter and I moved on. But now she's parking in front of my driveway like she pays rent for it? Anyway, she hasn't said anything to me, but she did come out as it was being towed and probably paid a cute little bill. Should have moved your car if you were awake then. I feel zero guilt. Some neighbors have said I was mean for doing that, so now I'm wondering. Willow Peep, I'm on your side all the way. She parked in front of your driveway. That's illegal. She shouldn't have done it in the first place. It is your driveway. You don't need to wait for them to move the car. Just get it towed and get on with your life. If they incurred on a fine, I'm so sorry. Shouldn't have parked there. You said so yourself. There was space to park around the corner. And honestly, that police officer giving you his unwanted opinion, come on, man. So no OP. I think you've done the right thing. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's check out the community comment. Stacy B125 says, not the a-hole. Blocking driveways is illegal. It's not your job to track down a car owner. You had an appointment for car repairs and needed to access your own home. Even without that appointment, you still are legally entitled to access your own property without causing property damage to your home or vehicle to accommodate the person who was wrong in the situation. Stay16979 says, not the a-hole, and ignore whatever that cop was saying. So weird. That's like calling in an order for pizza and the person answering the phone being like, wow, really? A pizza order? You know you can just buy all the ingredients to make it? No brick oven? Ever heard of DiGorno? Lyndon Lil Blue Balls says, not the a-hole. Sure, you could have driven on your grass, but she could have also not parked in front of your driveway. I hope you got the cop's name and badge number. I would contact a supervisor and let them know he tried not to tow the car and made vague threats about retaliation. JJOKOK says, not the a-hole. That's what happens when you leave your car somewhere it's not supposed to be. She made that bet for herself. Next time though, call the tow company yourself. The cop was not helpful because that's not really their job. And OP responds, in my state, we have to make a police report or pay for the tow in advance of the service as if it's your vehicle. And Expensive Plant 9530 says, not the a-hole. Blocking a driveway is super annoying. It would be one thing if she just parked there for a few minutes or even a few hours, but the fact that she was still there at 8 a.m., I don't think any reasonable person would blame you. However, I will push back on the comment, using a driveway to turn around is absolutely not rude. It's only rude to block or park in the driveway. Using it for 30 seconds to turn around isn't a big deal. Well, the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole. So now let's move on with the update to see how this story ends. Hi everyone, here's my update or answering some of the questions. 1. I am the same race as the person whose car was towed, just not the same ethnicity. She is Jamaican, I am Black American. I mentioned it because perhaps the laws there are different and I was going to give her a pass. They aren't. 2. For those asking why I don't go door to door to find out whose car it was that night, it was after midnight. My camera's view cut off a certain point, so I could not see who it was that night, but saw her near her car that morning when it was being towed and realized who it was. 3. I don't owe anyone anything, and there was alternate parking on the street where my driveway is, and there were 2 spots available, including the one I was forced to park at. 4. My driveway leads to stairs and to my back door, corner house. My kids don't always want to walk up the stairs, so sometimes I park in the front of my house, which is why I park in my driveway semi-regularly. In the winter, I always park in my garage. 5. For the few criticizing me for the status of my driveway, I'll remind you I rent my house, I don't own it. So any cleanup of the grass, I would be nice to my landlord, but nothing I'm in a rush to do. 6. I've lived in my house for 2 years. She has lived in her apartment for even longer than that with her husband. She very well knew that was my driveway. 7. For those of you upset because I called her rude for turning around in my driveway, need to understand that the street was the width of a 5-lane highway. There wasn't a need to use my driveway at all, especially since I pay renters insurance and I am liable for anything that happens in my driveway. I mostly called her rude because she used it to turn around and then proceeded to park in front of it. And 8. I am not a super friendly neighbor. On my street, we keep to ourselves. That is the appeal of where we live. Some neighbors will gather on porches if they have pre-existing relationships, but it's mainly parents going to work and minding their business. Hence why after 2 years, I barely know whose car is whom's. Everyone minds their own here. Finally, I don't think it's rude to turn around in someone's driveway. I do think it's rude to notice a driveway and then to park in front of it. Geez, you guys tore me up. The woman got her car back later that night, and it was parked in front of her house, in front of her husband's truck. Some of you said I need to be more cordial with my neighbors as a safety resource, especially with having kids. And you are absolutely right. Apart from the neighbors that tusked me, I have given nods to 2 neighbors who have returned them. Oh, and my car will be finished with repairs tomorrow. Well, OP, hopefully that neighbor did learn the lesson and she won't do that again. But in any case, OP, I really like your style. So here's wishing you the best. Take care, OP, and thanks for sharing. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance, and it's by user Little B. Want me to clean up users on the portal? Done, you're deleted. I work in IT for a big company and manage a portal that a small group of people use daily. Manager wanted me to go through the list of users and remove anyone who didn't need access. Simple request. I reduced the list from 100 to 30 people. Everyone's happy. Couple weeks later, manager is complaining that 30 users is too much and wanted me to create a list of all their names, what team they are a part of, who they report to, and how often they need access to this portal. Annoying requests, but sure, I got it done. He goes through the list and gets mad when he sees names he doesn't recognize, even though our company has a couple thousand employees. So he tells me to delete all users whose name he doesn't recognize. Stupid request, but okay, done. We are a global company, so immediately overnight I'm getting bombarded with emails that systems are down and no one has access to log into the system and fix it. My phone's going off, but I don't get paid to work at 3 a.m. Next morning, my manager somehow gets mad at me for deleting the users he told me to delete and tells me to add them back. No crap, Sherlock. Couple of weeks later, he again brings up that he's not happy and the system is not secure. Too many users have access, blah blah blah. Like, bro, how bored are you? He wanted me to review the list of users with him again. 27 of the users use this system daily. There are only 3 users, himself and 2 other people, that are high up management that don't use the system at all but are there for political reasons. He starts yelling at me, telling me to delete anyone who doesn't use the portal daily as part of their core job, and anyone who wants access must fill out a form and explain why they need it. Okay, fine, F it, done. Couple weeks pass by and he goes, "Hey, I think something's wrong with the system. I can't log in anymore." "Nope, it's working just fine." "Then why can't I log in?" "I removed all users who don't use it daily as part of their core job." Quoted my manager from weeks ago word for word. "Add me back." I slide him the form he created. Ew. It's been a few weeks and he still hasn't filled out the form and I still haven't added him back. We are somehow on good terms now. Nice, OP. It was a nice touch that you gave him the form. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.